Hey guys, welcome to my legal classes. This is Ganesh Pujari, and when we are discussing about interpretation of statutes, it's very important that we know sufficient about statutes. Now, if we need to understand more about statutes, one very important requirement is to understand the classification of statutes. And I have one busy slide to discuss all the classification of statutes. But before that, I always felt that somewhere I have to bring Article 13.3 of Indian Constitution, but I thought this is a presentation where I just want to put it. So in my next slide, I will quickly read out Article 13.3 of Indian Constitution to understand what is statute as far as India is concerned, and then we will get into that all important slide which discusses about different classification of statutes. As usual, you have a beautiful chart. Nothing to worry. Let's get into the first slide. Remember, in India, we are using the term law instead of statutes. And Article 13.3 of the Indian Constitution reads, in this article, unless the context otherwise required as includes any ordinance, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification, custom or usage having in the territory of India the force of law. Laws in force includes laws passed or made by legislature or other competent authority in the territory of India before the commencement of this constitution and not previously repealed, notwithstanding that any such law or any part thereof may not be then in operation either at all or in particular areas. This one slide, try to keep in your mind. Somewhere you can utilize this. So I thought of bringing this here, and with that, let's get into the all important slide, that is the classification of statutes. Classification of statutes. This is the slide I was referring to. Now we can divide the classification of statutes into 5 major categories. You can see 5 boxes there. The first one with reference to the duration, the second one with reference to the method, the third one with reference to the extent of application of those statutes, the fourth one with reference to nature of operation of those statutes, and finally with reference to the object of those statutes. These are the 5 classification that we can do when it comes to statutes. The first classification of statute is with reference to duration. And here we can see 2 different classification. One, the temporary statutes, the other one permanent or perpetual statutes. What are temporary statutes? These are not forever. Like for example, the ordinance given by the President of India under Article 123 or the Governor of any state under Article 213. This has a limited life. Once the next session starts, the session will decide the fate of such ordinance. So these are temporary statutes. Whereas the other statutes which are passed by the parliament, which are being approved, which have got the life of statutes, they are permanent. They are perpetual in nature and they are known as permanent or perpetual statutes. The second classification is based on the method of such statutes. There are few statutes which are mandatory to follow, like for example traffic rules. Everyone should follow it. These are mandatory, imperative or obligatory statutes, whereas directive statutes are giving direction, and this is the second type of classification. The third classification is with reference to the extent of application. There are many statutes which are applicable to public as a whole, but there are few which are applicable to the private parties. Like for example, the Contract Act, Transfer of Property Act, these are between the parties only. So these are private statutes, but the other laws like Indian Penal Code, etc. are applicable to everyone. They are known as public statutes. The fourth classification is connected to the nature of operation or the timing of operation, and here we can see retrospective, that means which takes life from some back date, prospective, which means which is taking life from today or some future date, and then there is a concept of retroactive. Now these are three very interesting aspects, and all of them have been discussed in the case law of Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma. The case law that I am referring here is quite lengthy, and I have made at least 5 videos on this particular case law which are available in the playlist of Hindu Succession Act. Now there is one very important presentation which I did on the term retrospective and retroactive. Here the Solicitor General of India Tushar Mehta attended the case, and there we are seeing the term of retroactive. So what I will do, in the description box of this video, I will put a video link of that particular presentation, and you can watch that presentation to understand the term retrospective and retroactive. That is for you guys to do, and with that, let's move to the last classification, that is with reference to the objects. The first type of statutes that I am discussing under this classification is codifying statutes. What is codifying statutes? Like for example, when we got freedom in the year 1947 and thereafter, if you see, among Hindus in India itself, we had different practices. We had different schools of thoughts like Mitakshara, Dayabhaga, etc. Now, when in such a big country, if we all have different way of looking at life and few important aspects connected to life, it becomes cumbersome to manage them all. So there we did codifying of Hindu laws in the name of 3 very important laws, that is the Hindu Marriage Act, the Hindu Succession Act, and Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act. These are the 3 beautiful examples for codifying statutes. The second type is consolidating statutes. If there are 2 or more statutes, and if you are bringing them all together and make one statute, that is known as consolidating statutes. Like for example, the Law of Property Act 1925 of England was consolidated by 1922 and 1924 Act. The third type is declaratory statute. A declaratory statute is a statute to remove doubts either in the common law or in the statutory law. Now, if you have some doubts related to a particular concept, now like for example, definition of house property under income tax clarifies everything related to house property, or the definition of owner of the house which is defined under Finance Act, which clarifies all doubt related to owner of the house. Now, these are known as declaratory statutes. The fourth type is remedial statute. If with the help of a particular statute you are seeking remedy, in that case those are considered as remedial statutes, and the example for the same can be the Maternity Benefit Act, the Employee Compensation Act, the Consumer Protection Act, etc. If an act permits or enables you to do something, those statutes are called as permissive or enabling statute, which is the fifth type of statute under this particular concept. Now, the example for that is Land Acquisition Act enables the government to acquire the public property for the purpose of the public, which is otherwise not permissible. Another example for this is Advocate Act, which permits or enables an advocate to practice anywhere in India. The sixth type is opposite to this, which is prohibitory or disabling statute. Like for example, the Land Reforms Act. In Karnataka, you cannot buy agricultural land if you don't have any agricultural land. Only an agriculturist can buy agricultural land, but now it has been reformed. But that is one example for prohibitory or disabling statute. The seventh one is very easy, which are penal statutes, which are basically discussing about giving punishment. Like for example, Indian Penal Code or Arms Act, where we are discussing too much about punishment, and these are known as penal statutes. The eighth one are taxing statutes, the GST, income tax, wealth tax, gift tax, whatsoever tax. These are known as taxing statutes. The ninth one are explanatory statutes. I forgot to put example there. General Clauses Act, which gives lot of explanation. These kind of acts are known as explanatory statutes. And the 10th one if an act is amended and got a new form, those are known as amending statutes. Like for example, the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, whichever now we are using, is an amendment of the Code of 1898. Sometimes it so happens that you are removing one existing law and replacing that with another law, and these statutes are known as repealing statute, which are the 11th category here. And example for that is, earlier there was Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969, and now that is being repealed and new act came into place, that is Competition Act 2002. The 12th type is curative or validating statute. Imagine your health is not good. What are you doing at that particular time? You are going to doctor, taking medicine, and then you cure the disease that you are having. That is curative. Likewise, if there are any issues in the society, if government brings a statute and cures the same, those type of statutes are known as curative or validating statute. One beautiful example for that is the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, which cured Article 370 as well as 35A. Cure means which removed Article 370 and 35A, and then the Jammu and Kashmir reorganization was done. This is an example for curative or validating statutes. The 13th is the procedural statute, which basically discusses about the different procedures, and two beautiful examples for that is the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Code of Civil Procedure, CPC and CRPC. 14th and the last one is basically repetition of serial number 12. I don't know how did I miss it, but if you are still with me, you are a very good student. And with that, I am taking you to the other side of this slide where we will meet Nishan.
Wow!